Right, Tri-Speed Triple 1050cc, service of air filter, spark plugs, oil and oil filter. This video will just purely simply be the getting to the air filter and get to spark plugs. The rest of it's pretty straightforward anyway. So to get to the airbox, the air filter's airbox got to come off. To get to the spark plugs, so the fuel tank's got to come off. Battery cover comes off first. 3 Allen keys, one there, one that side, on this side. That comes off, get your battery off, get it out of the way. Couple of bolts you'll see in a minute under there. Tank pivots up. The bolt at the back here comes off. I'll show you that in a few minutes. So, battery cover's off. 2 bolts for the petrol tank are one there, 8mm, and one there, 8mm. They need to come out. And once they're out, just be mindful you've got a spacer, a washer, and the bolts. Just make sure you take them all out together off the rubber bung. That allows the tank to be lifted. And you've got 2 pipes there. One's a breather and one's an overflow. They are different diameter, so when you pull them off, just make sure you remember where they go basically. But they do only fit one way, but just make a note of it. And then you've got your clip there for your fuel pipe, which comes off, and then the electric fuel sensor just unclips there at the bottom. Once they're off, you can take the pivot bolt off at the back. Once the pipes under your tank are undone, I'll come back to that in a minute. Again, you need your pivot bolt undoing, which is this long bolt here, and again that's an 8mm. Right, tank's off. That's the bolt you take out the pivot there with a long sleeve on it. Just make sure you take that out as well. Just makes it easier. You don't need to set a tank. The tank has to sit upright. It's just awkward. You have to balance it, and you can drop back down again. It's easy, just take it off. To be fair, the electrical clip, a little fiddly. You need strong fingers. Just a button there at the back. You press down, press in, and pull it off. Just be careful with it. There's your 2 pipes said before. One's thinner than the other one. One's a overflow, which I think's the smaller one. Might be wrong, because that's had water in it in the past. And that's the breather. Just be mindful which way they go back on, but you can't really get them wrong. The fuel pipe, at the side of it, you got a clip button there you press, and on the other side, a button there you press. So you basically squeeze them in tight as you can and just try and waggle it off. It is tight, it is fiddly, so be careful. When it comes off, you lose a little bit of fuel, but it's less than an egg cup full. So once that's off, there's your battery. I'm going to get rid of that in a minute because that needs to come off anyway. Maybe I should have disconnected it earlier, but yeah, should do really. But that's going to come off now. So it's negative, then positive. I've got a few extra wires on here, just make sure you remember where they go. And then your battery's going to come out. There's your air filter in here. So it's these Torx bolts here. There's your air filter. You don't need to remove that to do the spark plugs, but I'm going to change it anyway. Once your battery's terminals are off, put your screws back in, because otherwise the little captive nut inside here you'll lose. That's because both positive and negative. Now your cable's away. This bracket goes over the top with a rubber strap. Take the rubber strap off. This will pivot back so much, but you've got to literally, that bottom bit there, you've got to just pop it off a peg, which if you can see it, is there. So it basically just pops forward like that, and then just pull it out. Once that's out, the battery will then literally just lift out the holder. Now, I'm going to take the air filter out anyway now, because the cover holds these battery cables in place. It just gives you a bit more room. Once it's off, you can move your cables back a bit. These are held in by a T20 Torx. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then your air filter should be revealed inside there. So once your Torx bolts are out, the whole thing just wiggles out in place, slides up to reveal the air filter, which as you can see is a mess. Need a new one, and there's a new one to go in. And it just slots in, I think, from the back. So I'll change that in a minute and put it to one side. That just allows you to move these cables out of the way a little bit, just to give you a bit more leeway when taking the air box off. 2 Allen bolts, one there and one there, need to come off. You undo that electrical plug, I'd undo these, take this computer off, like if it's a computer, just drop it back a bit, let it rest back, undo that plug. You don't need, I don't think, to take any of these sensors out, just undo the plugs. Right, change the air filter back over and I've just put it back in place but left it loose, just to stop anything falling inside, and I'll put the screws back in afterwards when I put these cables back properly, but for now they can just be held to one side. So I'll take these Allen keys out, one there, one there. I'll undo the cables or connectors that I mentioned earlier. I'll see if it's loose and I'll come back to you. Before I take it off, you've got all your electrical connections are now off. There's a pipe under there which is held on by one of them spring squeezy clips. So you just squeeze the clip, pull it off, that's pipe off. That pipe just slides off. You can't go wrong because they all sit in line where they go back. I've just noticed that there's another one down there. You'll see it with the blue clip on. So I'll pair along those pliers, get that blue clip, slide it down, and again that pipe's got to come off. The 2 Allen keys here are out, so it's all loose. They're 5mm Allen key. I think it was the same size as what's on the battery cover, so it's one Allen key really does all. So I'll get that pipe off. I'll give this a bit of a wiggle and see how I get on. Just so you know, that pipe now which is off there, you can actually get to it from under the frame very easily with some along those pliers. You can just see it there now. You can get up there very easily going that way from the side of the bike. Right, back to it. That sensor that I left in before, take it out because it has a pipe on it. It's got a pipe on the bottom which runs underneath the airbox. So it's easy just to undo the 20 Torx, take it out, just put the Torx back in again so you don't lose it. Take the computer off, put the bolts back in again, you don't lose them, just you don't get mixed up. Everything else, like I said to you, unplugs. I took the air filter back out because I was struggling to get this airbox off, just so I can have a look. The 2 5mm Allen keys are out, everything's loose. What I did realise is that just down there now, that bracket, 2 8mm bolts, you need to take them out as well. That's what was stopping it. So I've just spent the last 5-10 minutes shaking it and trying to pull it up, and all it is, them 2 bolts there, and it comes up. It should just come out like that, revealing the 3 butterflies, your 3 coil packs where your spark plugs are, and this is your air box. So you can leave the air filter in if you want to, but don't forget them 2 bolts at the bottom, like I did. Make sure, top of these butterflies, just put a rag over the top or some tissue inside, because you don't want to drop anything inside here, because that opens, it goes into the inlet valves. So just cover them over, just while you're working elsewhere. Undo the coil pack. Again, you squeeze with your thumb the top of the plug, it pulls off, and your coil pack then just lifts, a little bit of wiggle, it lifts out nicely. Reconnect your wire, and then leave it lying for number 3 or number 1, whichever. Same with the middle one, same with that one. Spark plugs on these, normal 5/8 socket, it's got to be quite a thin one, luckily mine is. But the left hand plug is quite awkward, so I've got like a little extension, a step, it's not even a step down really, it's just a little extension, tiny one, just to give it a bit more length. And then I've got this one here, which is a bit of a wobble end on it. Bit of a wobble end on it, just to get a bit of flexibility. So that goes together. Like I say, it's a little awkward, the end one, but I've got the wobble extension on, so it gives it a bit of flexibility. And you can undo that one, and then that one's no problem, and that's probably no problem either. And just take them out. Right, once you're undone, best way to do it is get a little magnet onto the top of the plug. And there you have the old one. It's seen better days. This one's got a lot of water around the plug body. I've had no running problems. I'm losing no water anywhere. It's just going to be rainwater that must just get on top of the engine there and get down inside it. It's done no harm, but it just shows you a regular plug change is well worth it. And I've had this bike now 4 or 5 years. I've only changed the plugs once, which is the second time now. So that's them out. Nothing wrong in there. It's just rainwater that when you wash the bike getting in. Somehow slightly over the years, but like I say, it's worth changing them a bit more regular than I do. Right, apologies for that, but to get your spark plugs back in again on these, don't drop them in, because what you don't want to do is damage or bend the electrodes there. You've got a certain gap on them. So what I've done, I put a little pipe over the spark plug body. Get a smaller pipe if you want over the threads. Just drop it in very gently, lower it down. And just twist it very slightly to get a couple of threads started. Pull the pipe off and put them in with a socket. Once you've got them started, fingers, get your socket on top, and again you've got to start with that tube, haven't you? Put your socket back on and wind them down with your fingers all the way down. Do not use a ratchet as yet. Finger tight, make sure the threads are in. All the way down to the bottom. That's tight. That's tight now. Same with the other one. Threads have already started with that rubber tube head on. Wind it down. I do apologise for the video, by the way, because I ended up turning it off rather than pausing it, and now I've got 2 or 3 videos instead of one. Wind it all the way down. Finger tight, which it is. I've done that one, so I'll take it out. I'll get the ratchet on there now. I'll tighten them down. There's a torque setting for them. I don't know what it is, but I was used to be a car mechanic. I'm quite used to the feel of it, so I'm quite happy with that. I'll tighten them down now. When you put the coils back in, just make sure you push them at the end. You'll feel it slide down over the little the coil will slide down over that, and you'll feel it actually grip onto it. So when you put the coil pack in, all the way down, you may have heard that, just feel it like a crunching sound. And reconnect your plugs. 1, 2, and 3. So that's it, your spark plugs are in. All it is now is the reverse of everything back on. So on the airbox, I'll put a little bit of WD-40 on the trumpets, which sit over here. I'll slide it on. It's just 2 bolts, the pipes, the wires, everything back together again. Reverse as what you've seen. I hope this has been some sort of use. I'll try and put these 3 little videos together rather than just have it 3 separate ones. And that's all I've done. Just put some WD-40 around the 3 trumpet holes there, and all they do is to slide on top of the butterflies, whilst the front of the airbox slides in against the intake hole there. Just make sure there's nothing trapped, and then just tighten all your bolts down in the reverse order. When you push it on, as you're trying to locate the 3 trumpets on the butterflies, you'll just give it a gentle wiggle, and then you'll feel it just slide on. Just make sure it's all the way in. Your bolt holes will line up, so you put your 2 bolts back in, your pipe back on there, your computer back onto here, reconnect your pipe at the bottom there, wire back on there, centre back in there, make sure it's not trapped as it isn't. Make sure all the wires that you had before are all still out of the way, which they are. Put your air filter back in, and screws back in, bolts back in there, and that's the air. That should be the airbox in. Right, everything's back in. Like I said, in reverse order, so the computer's back on, screws are in. Right, wires re-plugged back in again to make sure it sits in that little holder there. Breather pipe's back on, just pushes on. That one down there, the blue clip, is back on. A bit of fair long nose pliers from underneath the frame there. Dead easy to get to. Breather pipe there's back on with the squeezy clip, the spring clip. Electrical connector back on. Connectors back in, screwed in. Make sure nothing's catching. Air filter's back in. I'll put the screws in a minute. But just to tell you, I've just struggled with this air filter. Now, whether it's because it's an aftermarket one, I don't know. I thought it was original parts, but it was just tight to go in. So, in the framework of this, put a little bit of WD-40 on, put the air filter into the where it sits, and just make sure it just pushed it all home as tight as I can. A bit of WD-40 on the edge, and eventually it just went. So it was just probably just a tight fit, but I did struggle with it. Make sure your cables are back under the flap. 2 5mm bolts are in and tight. So I'll stick the air filter screws back in now. I will then put the battery back in. I'll leave, and all the connectors, but I'll leave the negative off completely this time until the fuel tank's back on. Right, it's all back on. Tank's back on there. We pivot sleeve, if you like, through first, and then your 8mm bolt tight. That allows us to pivot. Reconnected is your brown fuel pump wire, and then the brown and the black fuel pump itself, pipe itself. That just pushes in and clicks home, and then your little black, I think that must be sender fuel gauge, starts clicking back in again. Your 2 pipes are back on, fat one and small one. Can't go wrong with them, but like I said, when you take them off, just make sure you familiarise yourself with it. The battery is back in. I've got a lot of accessories on mine, so it looks a bit of a mess there at the moment, but it is. They are all in, they're all neat and tidy. Drop your tank over, so these line up, and then you put your bolts and your washers back in as they came out on both sides, there and there. Make sure there's no wires trapped. I'll neaten these up in a second. I'll put the cover back on, and then I'll fire the bike up. That's I'll fire it up now before I put the cover on. So I'll just turn the ignition on. Fuel pump's primed. Tank's fastened down. There's no leaks anywhere. Let's move. fire that back up in a minute and let it warm up, because I want to change oil and filter in a few minutes. So I'll let it warm up a little bit. Change oil and filter, that's fairly straightforward. I hope this will give you an insight into how to change the spark plugs, because if you've not done them before, it's just what do you take off. For me, fuel tank's off. So a couple of 80mm bolts, both sides. You cut your battery cover obviously off. Get your tank up, under the fuel pipe. A bit hard on your finger and thumb, but squeeze them, pull them off. You're saying with your wiring connection to your tank, your 80mm bolt there. Get your tank out of the way. Size 20 T20 Torx for your computer at the back of the airbox. Centre off the side. Pair of pliers to undo the various vacuum pipes. You'll see at the back there. You can leave your air filter in if you wanted to do. To be honest, change it afterwards. No problem. Changed mine before. Airbox out of the way. Your two 8mm bolts at the back. Don't forget them. Right at the bottom of your airbox. Airbox out of the way. And then your spark plugs at the front under your coil packs. Take the wires off each coil pack. So get your coil pack out. It just makes it easier. Just reconnect them so you don't mix them up. You shouldn't do. Spark plugs out. Put them back in with a tube over the end of the spark plug, finger tight. Pull the tube off. Tighten your plugs up. Coil packs back in. Make sure you push the coil packs nice and tight home. Everything back together. The reverse is taking it apart, and there you go. Job done. Hope you enjoyed it. I'm not very good at videos, but hopefully you've seen what's involved there with the bike. 5mm Allen key, 8mm socket, T20 Torx, 5/8 plug socket, but a nice thin one. Couple of 3/8 drives, extension pieces, a bit wobbly to get to the angle, and a 3/8 drive ratchet, quarter drive ratchet. And there you go, a magnet, torch. You don't need nothing else. Thanks for watching, and bye.